So welcome. I am so excited to see you all here. And tonight is all about education, and a lot of students that I have met with so far here, and I think I'm up to like almost 200 of you, a lot of you have said that you are interested in education. So I hope that tonight inspires you and gives you a lot of information and kind of help and guidance along your path for the future. So tonight, come on in everybody. Make sure that you check in with Miss Abigail. She's at the bar, and there's plenty of food. And we still got people coming in. Come on in. Hey. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our three speakers tonight, and they are going to come up and share for about 15, maybe 20 minutes about kind of their path from Christendom to where they are now and all the stops that they've made along the way. So first up will be Megan Rolla. She graduated in 2011. She is a Good Shepherd catechist teaching in the atrium at St. Rita's School in Alexandria, Virginia, having studied and been trained in the catechesis of the Good Shepherd for levels 1 and 2. She loves literature, history, science, music, art, and loves the outdoors. And then next up will be Teresa Lamarand, who graduated in 2013. She has taught middle and high school students at Front Royal Christian School a broad range of courses, including Christian studies, history, Latin, mathematics, and writing. She has been involved in the school's athletic, outreach, performing arts, and fundraising program. And to round things out, Victor Alcantara, who graduated in 2005, has taught at a number of schools in the Diocese of Arlington since graduation. He currently serves as the Dean of Instruction and Accreditation at St. John Paul the Great Catholic School in Virginia. He holds an MA in Sacred Theology and an MED in Education Administration and Supervision. So I appreciate you all being here, and I hope that you will give them your full attention. And Megan, come on up, get us started.
Okay, here we go. All right, so my name's Megan Rolla, and I graduated in the class of 2011, and I've been teaching since then. This is my 8th year teaching. I teach at a great little Catholic school in Alexandria, and I love my job. But before graduating, I wasn't really sure what path my life was going to take. My major was in philosophy, and everyone kept asking me, well, what are you going to do with that? So a quick show of hands, how many seniors are here tonight? Seniors. Oh, great. We got a lot of seniors. This is wonderful. All right, so you guys are up for a big transition. If you aren't going to grad school, then you're going to leave the wonderful realm of the student to real adult life. And I remember going home for the holidays, my senior year, and seeing all my relatives, and everyone kept asking me the question, so what are you going to do after you graduate? And I hated the question, and I got a pit in my stomach every time someone asked me the question because I wasn't sure. You know, I had a few ideas, but I didn't have a plan. And so hopefully after we talk to you tonight, you can, if you have some ideas about teaching, then we can help you formulate a plan and you'll have an idea of which direction you want to go. So one of the things I hope you can take away from tonight, just as you're discerning and getting ready to transition to adult life, is remembering that God is your best and truest friend. And that little quote from St. Therese of Lisieux that I love, all is grace. Because as I was reflecting on this talk tonight and what to say, and going back and thinking how I got from point A to point B, I'm always amazed and so thankful at seeing God's handiwork at every day over the years in my life. So as you go out into the world and life happens, just remember God is with you. So let's go back to Christendom. And it's funny because I didn't even want to go to Christendom. When I was in high school, JP2 died, and he was a huge influence in my life. And I actually met these missionaries from Russia who told me what it was like over in Russia and how it was like the Iron Curtain never fell and people were afraid to practice religion, but they're thirsting for God. And so I thought, I'm going to go to the University of Pittsburgh, I'm going to study in Eastern Europe, I'm going to learn Russian, and then I'm going to go convert Russia for JP2. And the last place I wanted to go was Christendom because it just seemed pointless. I'm like, why would you want to go there? And when I applied, it was funny because you have those 3 essays, and one essay is, why do you like Christendom and why do you want to go here? And I actually wrote my essay, why I don't want to go to Christendom and why I don't want to go there. And really the only reason I applied is because my dad, he asked me to apply, and as a courtesy to him, I said, okay, I'll apply. And that's St. Therese for you, right? All is grace, because even though I got into Pitt, I got into all the other colleges I applied to, I went to Christendom College. So why Christendom? And I think it was the right fit for me. It just wasn't the right fit, but it really was a gift. It's a place where I was able to find myself. I went to a decent-sized public high school, and there were about 300 in my graduating class. And most of my peers in high school really only cared about having a good time. They didn't really have any aspirations in their life. And so I actually made friends with the people who did care about the world and wanted to make a difference in it, but they were all super, super liberal. And we had totally different ideas on how to make the world a better place. And so even though there were Christians and Catholics in that group of friends, I was that one girl who actually practiced her faith, and that one girl who was actually trying to make a difference and go to Mass and live faithfully, and the one girl who actually went to church on Sundays. So when I first visited Christendom, it changed my life because I realized I was going to a school of other people who were that one girl or one guy. And I realized I wasn't alone, because when you are the one girl, you start to think, is it just me? Like, am I from a weird family? Do we have it wrong? You start to wonder about that. And my dad has this saying about a fish born in polluted water doesn't know it's toxic water until it finds a clean stream. So it was kind of that for me. When I came to Christendom, I realized, okay, and it just changed my life. The core curriculum here at Christendom gave me a Catholic lens with which to view the world. And I really was able to understand the human person and his place in the world as designed by God. And that was huge for me because it helped me to find my place in the world. And now as a teacher, I see that as part of my job, as helping my students find their place in the world and know that they have one there. Another big thing was just the relationships at Christendom, like the professors, the staff, my peers. The relationships were huge in helping to form who I was and prepare me for my life outside and in the world. And it really helped cement my faith and have it become integrated into my life and make me who I am today. And so I just want you to think about that. If you're thinking about being a teacher, take this away from the talk. True learning begins with relationship. Okay? True learning begins with relationship, and maybe we'll come back to that, but I want to do a couple practical things for all of my seniors who are thinking about after graduation. May is coming. So you want to be a teacher. Now is the time to prepare, and there's 2 big ways that right now you can start preparing, and number 1 is research. If there's still a teaching practicum here, right? Okay, great. So take it. I highly recommend it because it'll get you to start thinking, and it gives you the chance to sit in and observe, student teach. It kind of gets you in the environment, and you don't know until you go. And you can just start thinking about, where would you want to be teaching? You want to do diocesan schools, classical schools, Montessori, public schools? What kind of school environment are you thinking about? If you don't know the difference between those, look into them. Just visit, and it will help you to get an idea of what kind of education path you'd like to be on, and how you think would be best to teach the students and the future generations of tomorrow. It's important, I think, also to know yourself and your confidence, ability. I hope you like children if you want to teach them. That's very important. But also just having an idea of with the age range too, where you want to be, because I'm a preschool primary person. We have middle school and high school here as well. I am not a middle school person at all. They kind of intimidate me. They smell bad after PE. I don't like their sass and drama. But little people, I can deal with them all day. I have endless patience for them, and other people are like, I don't know how you do that. So, but it's the right fit for me. So think about age groups, and if you can get a chance to student teach and be with those groups, that will really help you. Think about the subjects you might want to teach. If you're in like a K-8 school and you're a primary teacher, you're going to have to teach everything. But you can also be specialized. So think about if you want to do art, music, language, those different kinds of things. If you're teaching middle school and high school, then you're going to be doing, you can specialize in the big things like math, the humanities, sciences. Think about your niche and what you're passionate about, because you want to give that to your students. Research, one really helpful thing, and I have this little handout sheet for you all as resources if you're interested, but you can go on the diocesan website if you're interested in diocesan schools, and it will give you a directory, and one of the other things that it gives you is the standards for the curriculum in the Diocese of Arlington. So if you want to know what 6th grade teacher in Arlington has to teach their students for the year, bam, it's right there. 4th grade math, it's all there, it's outlined, and you can have, okay, I need to work on my algebra, or you can realize this is what my year might look like as a teacher and give you an idea of what your life's going to be like as a teacher. So do your research. Look around into schools you might be interested, visit with them, research their mission statements, and get a sense of their identity, because a school is a community, and if you're a teacher, you want to plug into that and find the right place. Which brings me to number 2, very important thing if you want to be a teacher, is networking. I think it's very important. And networking really is basic marketing. How do you buy something? When you pick a product, what leads you to choose one item over another? And trying to get a job is the same basic thing. So you're the product, okay? Either somebody sells you or you sell yourself. If someone tells you to bring a bottle of wine for dinner and leaves you to select one bottle from an entire aisle of options, there are 4 things that are going to help influence that decision: recommendation, brands, packaging, and price, okay? It's the same thing with hiring a job. So obviously, number 1, recommendation is huge. If someone recommends a bottle of wine to me, I'm probably going to buy it because I want to invest my money in something I know is going to be good. So if you have someone to recommend you, to vouch for you, that's huge. And so when does that networking begin? It begins right now, right here. I mean, you have the chaplains here, your professors, the staff, your work study bosses. They're all people who know you and have watched you grow, and they can be your first recommendation. And that's really how I got my job at St. Rita. The chaplain one of the chaplains who was here at Christendom remembered me after he was moved, and because he knew me and my skill set, he thought of me when the job came up, and he said, hey, I think you might be great at this. You should talk to our principal if you're interested in teaching. And so I applied and I interviewed and I ended up getting the job. But I know even though my interview was awesome, he had a huge influence on me getting hired, I'm sure. That recommendation is big. So aside from just your teachers here, be thinking about when you're doing your research phase, and you're visiting these schools, you're meeting other teachers there, you're meeting the principals there, you can kind of make those connections. And then also you have the Christendom Alumni Network. There's lots of Christendom alumni that I know. Come talk to me if you have a specific idea of which kind of school you want to get into, or maybe where, and we have a number of alumni who are teaching throughout the area, and we can give you advice and pointers. So the other thing, we have brands. Another thing, and I have to say that in the Diocese of Arlington, Christendom is a great brand, because principals and schools and directors who are looking for a place, if they want to have a strong Catholic identity in their school, they're going to see Christendom and they're going to say, these people have a solid basis and foundation in theology and philosophy. I don't have to reteach them the catechism so that they can teach at my school. And so Christendom is really a great benefit to you to teach in this diocese or at any school with a strong Catholic identity. Packaging, going back to our bottle of wine, I'm sure we've all bought a bottle of wine based on the label or the kind of bottle it's in. So one of the most practical things that I graduated from Christendom with is a professional dress wardrobe. I really have to say that while I envied my friends at other universities who got to wear whatever they wanted to class, I didn't have to spend my graduation money on clothes for work. So dress for success, not just in your interviews, but when you have a job, you should be dressing professionally, because especially as a teacher, it commands the respect of your job, and your students, your parents, your fellow coworkers, everyone's going to notice how you look, and how you dress sends a message, how much you care to be there, and how seriously you're taking your work. And the last factor, of course, is price. You want to make yourself a great investment, so help yourself to succeed by getting as much experience as you can during the teaching practicum, during your research phase. Be thinking about things that you've done or been involved in that are to your credit. You can put them on your resume. You know, being organized, managing things, especially people and places and things. If you are a team player, camp counselor, have you done CCD before? Just think about any kind of experience that you've had that can help build up your resume. And then if you can professionally develop further, maybe this summer before you start the job, I highly, highly, highly recommend a classroom management class. I just took one. I've been teaching for 8 years, and I just took one this summer, and I really wish that I took one 7 years ago, because it was amazing, and it would have saved me a lot of trouble. And there are 2 schools that do some great teacher development that you might be able to get into, especially once if you get hired for a job. Your school will sometimes pay for that development, which is great, is Trinity, which I think they're based out of Catholic University, and Marymount is out in Arlington. But the diocese has a deal with them, so you can get reduced fees classes. Just so you know and kind of have a deadline in your head, spring, the Diocese of Arlington sends out letters of intent. So all of the teachers who want to work again the next year say yay or nay, and all the contracts are signed in May. So your prime time months for making those connections and putting yourself out there, your interviewing season's going to be May, June. So be thinking about that, because that's when principals are going to be looking to make new hires. Okay? And then I just want to end with one last thought. Christendom's mission is to restore all things in Christ. And I believe being a great teacher is really one of the most effective ways to restore all things in Christ. I mean, does anyone ever remember that Jesus is a master teacher? I mean, he's always teaching with his parables and teaching the crowds and the disciples. Jesus is a teacher. But it just wasn't his wise sayings and the parables that he told that converted the crowds. They weren't learning merely because of the information that he offered. Because earlier I mentioned, I think I did. No, maybe I didn't. But anyway, being a teacher sometimes is really just being a leader in your community. And I also noted, this one I definitely did say, is that true learning begins with relationship. Okay? So it wasn't just what our Lord was saying that got the people to follow him, but it's also who he was. Okay? It was the encounter, it was the relationship, it was the example he gave. I mean, you can all think of a great teacher, and it's not necessarily because of what they taught you, but it's because of who they were that made such a great impact on your life. Okay? And so Jesus has once again given us that perfect example to follow. And it may seem like it's impossible, but I want to tell you it's not. I have a little proof. I brought it just to give you kind of like that teaching really does, for me, the most important thing of teaching kind of has come full circle for me. I have a paper here written by a girl from St. Rita's, and her mom gave it to me. I wouldn't know that this exists. She actually was in high school when she wrote it. It was an assignment. And I never actually taught her. But as I said before, school is a community. And she just wrote her paper about me. And I thought I would read it to you because she also mentions Christendom. There's just the 2 little snippets I want to share with you because I think it shows how teaching is able to restore all things in Christ. So this is from Veronica. My mom works at St. Rita's School as a math and religion teacher. While teaching there, she has gotten to know a lot of young people who work there. My family refer to them as her young friends because they are closer to my age than my mom's. For some reason, they like to hang out with my mom. Definitely because she can afford to buy everybody drinks when they go out. But also because they think she's cool. Weird, right? These young men and women have, with a few exceptions, come from Christendom College and have been homeschooled. Christendom is a small Catholic school up in Front Royal. I first thought that these teachers would all be weird, extremely religious, and socially awkward. I mean, come on, they choose to hang out with my mom. But I have discovered that I am wrong, and I have come to admire them for their differences, because they are good ones. There are two women that I have particularly gotten to know and chance to be friends with, Miss Rolla and Miss Antunes. But I have a particular admiration and respect for Miss Rolla. And she goes on to say all the things that have happened that she admires me for or respects me for. And then at the end, I just love this little part that she says, Miss Rolla has taught me a lot, and all she has done is been herself. She has shown me a true example of a woman of faith who is still youthful, fun, and stylish. I think she is just so cool, and I've not found a lot of people like her in this world. There's something very special about her, and she has really become a role model for me. Most importantly, she has shown me that there are people like me, and that all I have to do is find them. So the one girl found another one girl. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good to be back. I was talking with Megan beforehand, and we were saying how this may be the first time that we're back in Killian's since we both graduated. So thank you for having me back. My name is Teresa Lamarand, and I'm a teacher at Front Royal Christian School right here in Front Royal, Virginia, and I'm in my 6th year of teaching there. So I'm going to follow in Megan's footsteps with some crowd involvement. If you are interested in becoming a teacher, would you give us a show of hands? Awesome. All right, thank you. And if you are a good friend who accompanied someone who's interested in becoming a teacher, please raise your hand. Who are the good friends in the room? Thank you for coming out. Thank you. Okay, teachers need good friends who understand what it's like to be a teacher. Okay, I have a lot of teacher friends and a lot of non-teacher friends, and both of them hear a lot about what it is to be a teacher, about my students, and about my life. So thank you guys for being here tonight. I have 2 goals for us this evening. First, I'd like to encourage those of you who are interested in becoming a teacher, and second, give those of you who are on the fence something to think about. So I'd like to start with my story, becoming a teacher, because I don't know about you, but I love a good story. So the story begins with the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? How many of us have heard this question over and over again? And as a young person, it's easy to say, I want to be a ballerina. I want to be a figure skater. I'm going to be a famous basketball player. And those answers hold up for a while, and at some point we have to change our answer to something a little more tangible. That came for me when I was in 8th grade, and I realized, oh wait, I have to have a real answer for this question. What do I say when they ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are you going to do in high school? So I looked around frantically, hoping to pull something out of thin air, and I was given a word, teacher. My mom was in education. I thought I might be good at explaining things to people, and I was pretty comfortable being in front of others and talking. And so for the next 4 years of high school, I had checked the box, I'm going to become a teacher. I didn't think much about how I was going to become a teacher. I just pursued my interests. I did things that I enjoyed, I got involved in my school, and I loved school. So then again, senior in high school, question reemerges. What are you going to do when you grow up? What college are you going to go to? And unlike my friends who had very specific colleges with all the different kind of nuances that they were looking for, I wasn't really excited about college. I didn't have a college I was really excited about going to. I had an older sister, though, who went to Christendom, and she said, why don't you just come and visit? So I did, begrudgingly. Came out to Front Royal. I remember driving on 66 with my sunroof open, and the stars were amazing. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. I could get used to that. I was coming from living in the city where you barely ever saw the stars, so that was the first sign that it might be good for me. But I wasn't quite sold yet. So I came to Christendom, and I remember sitting in on one of Dr. Cuddeback's classes, and what really struck me was that as I was listening, I found myself feeling like I wanted to be able to articulate myself. I wanted to be able to defend my faith. This might be the school for me. So I came to Christendom. And once again, 4 years go by, the box had been checked, I was still going to be a teacher, and I had no plan as to how I was going to do that. But once again, I pursued my interests. I got involved in sports. I was a soccer player. I got involved in SAC. I was the layout editor for the Rambler. I was on the presidential advisory board. I looked for ways to get involved. I was in drama productions, just wanted to get my hand in a few different things. And then senior year rolls around, and we have once again this question, and now it's real this time because you really have to be something when you grow up. And senior year is the time where you have to decide what's it going to be. So I was in the teaching practicum, and I was stationed at Front Royal Christian School, and I knew a teacher there who was leaving, and so I thought, this might be my chance. I'll go ahead and put my application in and see what happens. And it turns out it was a first grade position. I had no interest in teaching first grade, but I wanted desperately to get into a school, so I applied. I heard nothing for months, and I was living in Maryland at the time, and the places that I applied to wouldn't even consider me because I didn't have 3 years of experience or a master's degree. So I thought, how am I going to get experience if no one will hire me? At that point, I had resigned myself to being maybe a substitute teacher. Maybe I'll just, kind of pitch in and see if I can get my way into a school. When I was finally invited in for an interview at Front Royal Christian School, and I miraculously received my dream job, which is to be a middle and high school teacher, which I know for some people is insane. Why would you want to work with teenagers for your full-time job, and even those just right before being a teenager? And as Megan said, it wasn't the fact that my interview was awesome, which by the grace of God it was, because I was never good at interviewing. I always did horribly at auditions, but miraculously God was with me. But what got me the job was not my experience, because I had very little. It was all of my interests. All of the activities that I participated in, the things that I was passionate about, were exactly what they were looking for, miraculously. Literally, who's looking for a Latin teacher? Who wants someone who's been in, drama and sports? And yet, everything that they were looking for were things that I had pursued, things that I was interested in. And so the first thing I want you to leave with tonight is to know that God will use all of your gifts and talents, and I mean all of them, because being a teacher is going to require everything that you have. So I've been able to give back to my students through my interests, through the things that I'm passionate about, through my hobbies. So pursue your interests and never stop learning. Even now, even those of you who aren't considering becoming a teacher, pursue the things that you love because God will use them for His glory. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the impact of being a teacher, which Megan touched on. So I have a myth for you. The myth is that teaching is what you do when you don't know what else to do. True or false? So the fact is that teaching is what you do when you want to have an impact on lives for eternity. As I'm talking, you're all thinking about a teacher who has impacted you, for better or worse. All of us have a story. And isn't it sad? She's laughing. But isn't it sad, right? When it was for the worse, when they didn't ignite in you a love for something that you could have been interested in, when they didn't open a door that you didn't know was a possibility. There's nothing that breaks my heart more than when someone tells a story about their teacher and it ends with, they really shouldn't have been a teacher, right? They really shouldn't have been a teacher. And isn't it a shame that for many of us, teaching is what we do when we don't know what else to do, and yet students are looking to us to be that impact in their lives. So what I'd like for you to do is to prayerfully consider teaching because it is a vocation. Something that I love about working at my school is that we're surrounded by what holds us in common, or what we have in common. It's a Christian school, And I was one of the few when I first started that was a Catholic working in a Christian school, and many people are like, wow, I wonder what that's like. Well, let me tell you what it was like. It was great. It was amazing to be in a place where I felt like everyone was on the same team. We were all pulling the same cart in the same direction, but we were maybe coming at it from a different background, a different perspective, but aren't we all? Aren't we all coming at it from a different background or perspective? So it was amazing for me to be a part of a team that was centered on the goal of bringing these children to know God. Uniting on the Trinity, what do we have in common that can help give these students a foundation for their future? So this vocation you have as part of your teaching. You have the job part, which is the paperwork and the teacher meetings and talking with parents and grading papers. And on the other side, you have the vocation, the calling to show students something they may not have seen before and to open their eyes to what God would have them see. So the impact of that is immeasurable. I may never see the fruit of the seeds that I've planted, but woe to me if I failed to plant them, if I didn't open that door, if I didn't incite that interest in a student. So how can you become a teacher? As Megan has said, get involved and get experience. Because another thing that cracks me up is that people go to school to be a teacher and they will get their master's degree and realize they don't actually like children. So be with children. You can work at a summer camp. Actually, something that got me the job was that I was a lifeguard for 6 years, and they thought, well, if she can do that, she can probably teach this class. So get involved. Work with kids at your church. Start babysitting. See if you have a particular age group that you enjoy working with. For me, I thought I was going to be a high school teacher. I wanted the challenge. They have the ability to go farther. And then I realized that I actually love middle school because I can be silly and we have such a good time together. And I never would have known that had I just been a high school teacher. So be around students and then be a student yourself, because we're all called to be lifelong learners. Again, I would encourage you to pursue your interests and to continue listening and praying about your vocation. Although teaching may be the hardest thing that you ever do, it is also the most rewarding. And just this summer, I feel like God has kind of laid this in front of me. I have had alumni come back to me almost coming out of the woodwork, and I just hear someone calling my name in the coffee shop or on Main Street, and students just coming back and being so excited to tell me about what they're doing. So to know that you can be that person in a student's life, you can be that teacher that you're thinking of that had that impact on you, but you could also be that person that should not have been a teacher. So pray about it and think wisely about becoming a teacher. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming, and I especially want to thank the college for inviting me to speak with you all here tonight. My name is Vic Alcantara, and I'm a graduate of the class of 2005. I earned a degree in theology here at the college, and I went on to pursue another degree at Notre Dame Graduate School of Christendom College in 2010. A few years ago, I went to Marymount University to pursue a degree in education administration and supervision. And so I've been an educator in this diocese for 14 years now. And as Ms. Stevens had mentioned, I'm currently the Dean of Instruction and Accreditation, as well as a theology and bioethics/philosophy teacher at St. John Paul the Great Catholic High School in Dumfries, Virginia. And let me just say, I'm just so proud to see some of our graduates here at Christendom College. So it's just like, I couldn't be happier to see them here. And like I said, I'm just so proud of them that they're here and experiencing what I experienced, some time ago now. So this will be my 6th year here at John Paul. For the first 8 years as a middle school teacher at St. Louis School in Alexandria, and I taught with many Christendom graduates, which was a great experience at that time. And I'm so glad to see that most of you here are have an interest in Catholic education or education and want to become teachers, and even those who have different interests. So thank you for coming. Before I get into what it is I do and some of those details and give you a little bit of advice, I think it'll be helpful if I shared some of the reasons why I became a teacher. Please allow me this opportunity to thank Christendom College once again, not only for inviting me here tonight, but actually I want to thank Christendom really for everything. I truly mean that. I need to take this moment because hopefully it will help you understand why I chose this career path, and I think it'll be beneficial for you all who are considering the same profession. I thank Christendom for everything because these things I'm about to highlight are really everything I live for, okay? So, in all honesty, first of all, I want to thank the school for literally saving my faith. This whole, talk could just be about that. In short, this school, it truly opened my mind and my heart to the Catholic faith. I attended Catholic schools all my life, but this school really gave me every opportunity to take advantage of God's grace, which I had for so long, taken for granted. This school taught and showed me how to love Christ and the church. And really everything else that I'm thankful for, it flows from that. Secondly, I thank the school for helping me discover my vocation. This is definitely the place where you can do that. It provides you with the culture and environment to take advantage of every opportunity. I met my wife, Kate Beer, here at Christendom. She's a member of the class of 2007. Together we live in Manassas with our 5 children. Our newest members of our family came in June. Yes, I said members. We welcome twins, a boy and a girl. So that was our 4th and 5th. Their names are Jason Xavier and Zaylee Louise. And they're the 2 reasons why we didn't make it a homecoming this year. So we considered it, but so aside from growing in love for God here, really the discovery of my vocation is what I cherish, second, really. Third, as some of my colleagues mentioned as well, the lifelong friendships in the community here, I'm really grateful for. Many of my closest friends, while I was a student here, are still some of my closest friends today. And actually, it's just a joy to see our children, growing up together, going to the same school. Not as many parties as before. They're more like daycares now, but but we still have a tight-knit community. And it's not like we planned this, too. It's kind of organically happened, and that community is just something that's just really priceless and invaluable, and something you get here at Christendom. Lastly, it was really this school that ultimately inspired in me the desire to become a Catholic educator. Truthfully, before Christendom, I never thought about being a teacher or had the desire to. And to be completely honest, I wasn't overly excited about coming to this school at first either, okay? Long story short, it was one of those deals, with my parents that, I'll give it a try for a year and then transfer after that, so you probably made the same deal, right? And, but, this is just really a whole new world for me. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, and, in case you didn't know, LA and Froro, they're a little bit different, so I don't know if you realize that. But it didn't really take me that long, honestly, to realize that, this place was special. And soon I realized that I really had taken my Catholic education, and I was blessed because, I grew up in Los Angeles, the diocese at the time, let's just say it wasn't great for Catholic education, okay? And, my parents worked hard and sacrificed for me to send me, to a good school. I went to St. Michael's Abbey in California. Maybe some of you have heard of it. That's where I went to school, and that's how I found about Christendom. And so I'd taken that for granted for so long, and it wasn't until I got here, and it didn't take me long, like I said, to realize, wow, this is a special place. It provided the environment, the culture that helped me to flourish, and this is what brings me to why I became an educator. I share my experience of Christendom and the gratitude that I have for this school with you all, because it is really a testament, okay, to the profound impact that authentic Catholic education can make. This college taught me that true education is more than just acquiring knowledge or preparing me for a career, but rather encountering the person of Jesus Christ. That's just so beautiful, but so true. John Paul II, in addressing the NCEA in 1979, this is what he said: "In order that the Catholic school and Catholic teachers may truly make their irreplaceable contribution to the church and to the world, the goal of Catholic education itself must be crystal clear. Beloved sons and daughters of the Catholic Church, brothers and sisters in the faith, Catholic education is above all a question of communicating Christ, of helping to form Christ in the lives of others." So that's why I became a teacher, okay? To try and do for others what Catholic schools did for me, which I had taken for granted for so long. And then finally when I came to Christendom, I was like, wow, just all clicked, In gratitude, I wanted to be a part of this mission of Catholic education and ultimately of the church to help the youth encounter Christ each day. One of my roles as Dean of Instruction at John Paul is working with our new faculty throughout the year with really everything. We have faculty members who are first-year teachers, like first year ever, and we have teachers who've been teaching for 20 years. And I work with them on on almost a daily basis just to adjust to our particular high school. But one of the things that we do, when we start off the school year, we have an orientation. And no matter how long someone's been teaching, no matter what subject, what grade level, the main message is the same, that the mission here is the same, and that's to help each student meet Christ in the classroom, outside the classroom, on a day-to-day basis. Everything flows from that. So what I really want you to think about is you're thinking about becoming a teacher or getting into education, especially if you're going to be in the Catholic schools, is whether you're willing to commit yourself to the mission of the church to educate and form young people, and that's more than just a job. As my colleagues Megan and Teresa had mentioned already, I'm going to repeat a lot of the advice, which is good, right? Because what they said is so true. I've met many people who said, well, I don't really know what I want to do right now. Maybe I'll just go teach for a bit. But it's really not that simple, because what some may not realize is that being a teacher is a serious calling. And it comes with a very grave responsibility. In short, whatever you're teaching, especially I'm speaking specifically in a Catholic school, but whatever you're teaching, it's to educate and form young people in the truth, ultimately instilling in them the desire for heaven, and then teaching them how to attain it. And that's not just for religion teachers, that's all across the board, because when you're a teacher, specifically at Catholic school, you're working to accomplish the mission together. The impact that you have on a young person's life as a teacher or a coach maybe even is very profound and long-lasting, as Megan had shared. And it should never be taken lightly. The role that teachers have in the lives of young people should not be viewed as just a job or just a mere stepping stone or just a paycheck, but truly a calling. There's not too many professions in the world that can claim that they are making a profound impact in a person's life, each day, day in and day out, and to claim that, I'm actually trying to lead this person to heaven. The Congregation for Catholic Education, 1982, just bear with me, this is kind of a long quote, but I think it's worth it. The teacher is not simply a professional person who systematically transmits a body of knowledge in the context of a school. Teacher is to be understood as educator, one who helps to form human persons. The task of a teacher goes well beyond transmission of knowledge, although that is not excluded. Therefore, if adequate professional preparation is required in order to transmit knowledge, then adequate professional preparation is even more necessary in order to fulfill the role of a genuine teacher. One specific characteristic of the education profession assumes its most profound significance in the Catholic educator: the communication of truth. For the Catholic educator, whatever is true is a participation in him who is the truth. The communication of truth, therefore, as a professional activity, is thus fundamentally transformed into a unique participation in the prophetic mission of Christ, carrying on through one's teaching. And so if you're considering that calling to participate in him who is the truth, okay, just think about that. Being a teacher is participating in him who is the truth. I have some recommendations, and like I said, a lot of this, will be repeated. But number one is pray about it and ask God to guide you to do His will. It's simple as that, really. Pray about your vocation, but also, the kind of work that God wills for you. Networking is very important. Okay, talk to other teachers, especially those who are maybe close friends or fellow alumni, like here on Life on Tap, and please take advantage of every opportunity that the college gives you to prepare yourself for after Christendom. To be able to meet people and reach out to them for advice and assistance is extremely helpful. When I got my first teaching job in the diocese, when I was searching, I reached out to friends of mine, and actually, where I worked at St. Louis School, I think there were at the time like 10 Christendom graduates working at that school. So it was like, I left college. It was like I was, like I never left, because it was all my friends. It was an awesome experience, but I learned so much. So I made sure to reach out to fellow alumni, and they were able to open up opportunities for me and give me advice. And today, I'm so grateful for that. So guess what? I'm in a position too where I can help people do that now. In the Catholic Diocese of Arlington. One specific opportunity coming up. And what I can do, I'm kind of going to give you some dates and information here, but maybe Ms. Stevens, I can email you some of this, and you can, get it to the students here. But one specific opportunity is the Diocesan Job Fair, which is in March 9th, 2019. It's a great opportunity to meet administrators and teachers from all schools in the diocese. And I'll tell you that I'm always so happy and proud every time I see a Christendom graduate or a current Christendom student introduce themselves and express their desire to teach. I'm so excited to help them, and even if it's not for my school, but just to give them advice on how to go about being a teacher in the diocese. What's really weird though is when I have some of my former 6th grade students that come to see me and asking for a job. I'm like, go away, you're making me feel old. So no, it's awesome actually, because to see someone you taught in 6th grade and wants to become a teacher now, it's just amazing, because obviously they believe in what the education that they received, and they want to continue that on with their lives. It's very gratifying, So if you're able, and if it's possible for you, please come to the job fair on March 9th and meet some school administrators, find out more about the schools in the diocese, and of course, please. I'm there every year, so please come and see me and say hello, and I can even introduce you to other, even if it's not, the people at John Paul. Also, just today, I actually received some information important to prospective teachers for the diocese. So, you're actually hearing this first. This is not made public, but I just so happened to get some communication from somebody at the offices of Catholic schools, but they will be having a prospective teacher information sessions in November. So the dates are, and like I said, I'll communicate this to Mrs. Stevens, is November 14th at St. Thomas More Cathedral School, November 15th at All Saints Catholic School in Manassas, and November 16th at St. Francis of Assisi School in Triangle. So I think this will be very helpful because, it's an opportunity to talk to the actual Office of Catholic Schools and they know exactly what you need to do. And I can also help you with that. After we can chat a little bit if you'd like. The diocese will soon be putting out a flyer with registration information on their diocesan site. And once again, I can share that with Kristen. Oh, thank you. The education Christendom provides is so invaluable for any career path, but especially for an educator. If you've taken advantage of this curriculum, then you've learned how to think critically, problem solve, deal with people, manage crisis. These are all skills that every teacher, really needs to utilize on a daily basis. That being said, consider continuing your education in the field of education. Although in Catholic schools, being mission fit and dedicated to Catholic identity is really of utmost importance, continuing to learn about practical and effective classroom management, instruction, and how to cater to a variety of learning needs, it will help you to better serve your students as a teacher. If taking courses, education courses, is something that is not, you don't see in the near future, then I highly recommend that you participate in activities. Some of the activities that Teresa actually mentioned, for example, summer camps, CCD at your parish maybe, finding opportunities to substitute teach. That's always a good experience. Take the teacher practicum here, or just volunteering at a school. So those are different ways if you're not going to take something specifically or pursue more education in education right away. Those are some of the ways that when the interview process comes or the application process comes, you've shown you have experience with the youth and have some experience in these areas. Another very practical thing you can do, and this is maybe very important for seniors especially, is to start preparing your application to the diocese. And this is specifically for the Catholic schools in this diocese. This is something I stress to prospective teachers of our school. Meeting all the diocesan requirements and completing their documents in advance helps to make the application process to any of the schools, it just makes it a lot more smoother. A school is much more likely to call you for an interview if you have all the paperwork in at the diocese. And it's important to note that a school, even if they want to, won't offer you a position until the application at the diocese is complete. So it's important. So those are just some pieces of advice. And like I said, most of all, remember it's the mission that is the absolute most important, and your commitment to it. So if you're thinking about becoming a teacher, just have that always on your mind and pray. All those who think they have this calling to teach, I encourage you to pursue that calling. Pray that God's will be done. And I can say with confidence, and my colleagues would agree, and they've already said it actually, that there aren't really too many other career choices, if any, that are more rewarding. I can go on and on about these 14 years and the experience I've had with individuals. I don't know, but there's just too many, and I thank God for that every day. Plus, being a teacher, most of the time, most of us, we also get the summers off, so that's always a good thing, right? So, yeah, sometimes, yeah. So, thank you everyone for coming, and once again, thank you to Christendom College for tonight, but also, again, for everything. They're really the reason why I became a teacher, to be completely honest. I'm not just saying that because Mr. McFadden's here, but it really is the truth. So I thank you all. God bless.